Okay, welcome to this series of Top 100 Kenyans. These are Kenyans who are making impact in different areas of society, from education to social life to lifestyle to other categories that we have been researching and nominating some of these people who have done a great job in their fields. Now in studio, I have with me one lady who has a very long CV. She has worked in very many places, in media and corporate and also in government. Ntonjira.
Yay!
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
This is the second time we're meeting.
Yes.
And the last time we bumped into each other at one of the malls, and I think, do you always have a circle of powerful women around you? I think you had some of your friends who from the World Bank and other areas. Is that how your life is? Are you just surrounded by amazing people?
Yes, everybody is amazing. I just like surrounding myself with very positive people because that's what you feed your mind. So I'm all about positivity.
Well, thank you so much. And this series, we invited you because you're one of the top 100 most influential Kenyans. And how many Twitter followers do you have?
They should be over 100,000.
Oh, you don't keep count? There are people who keep count like that. I am at 100,627 followers.
No, it's so funny because even when I hit like the 50K mark, it's so funny. I always feel like I got more famous when I left TV than when I was actually there. So it's one of the people I work with was, oh, you've hit over 100K. And I was like, oh my goodness. So it's something that is really not something like I keep check, oh my goodness, how many followers do I have?
Well, speaking of media, you have worked in both media and corporate and government, and so far we're going to talk about your journey to where you are now, so high in the corporate ladder. But I want to ask you, is this how you envisioned your life? Did you set goals and say, by the time I'm 30, I'll be a corporate leader, I'll have done media? Is this how you envisioned your life would go?
To a considerable extent, yes, because I'm one of those really super ambitious people. And it's been really, opportunity, meeting myself, having prepared. And it's just been an organic progression over the years. So I'm really happy about the experiences, the roles and different capacities that I've held over the past 14 years in my professional career.
Well, you started your education, your tertiary education. You did a law degree. Did you always want to become a lawyer when you were young? Were you saying, okay, I'm going to represent people in court?
I knew I wanted to be a lawyer after watching Legally Blonde. I know this sounds so funny. But yeah, just seeing Reese Witherspoon at, Harvard per se, and, looking all intellectual. And I was very curious. That's when I started reading about law and all it entails. And it was so fascinating. So, and it's something that when I raised it to my parents, they said, yeah, that suits you because you're ever fighting for people's rights. Sometimes I poke my nose where it's not needed. If it's one of my siblings getting disciplined, I stand in and say, no, I think you got this wrong. This is what this person meant. So it was really something that also aligns with my personality because I like speaking out.
Did you always want to practice but never got an opportunity, or did you realize you had other ambitions later? Because your career started quite young. You started working at 18 for the Daily Nation, which it's an amazing place. It's almost it shapes you. Once you leave the Daily Nation, it's almost like your career from there just progresses upwards.
Absolutely. I've always said that I've been a storyteller all my life. And I have been storytelling in different platforms and the different roles that I've held over the years. And I love storytelling so much so that my first article to ever be published was when I was only 10 years old.
Wow. How was that? What was it about?
It was about why abortion is bad.
Why
At only 10. I think because I was reading a particular story and I'd watched a particular movie and I felt so strongly about that particular topic. I wrote a letter to the Young Nation, to the editor of Young Nation. And that used to be the thing. Every week I would read something interesting and try pen my own thoughts about it and write to the young nation. You know those letters to the editor?
Yeah, letters to
And
the
so every
editor.
Sunday I would wake my dad up, please, you need to go buy the paper to just check whether my article had been published. So this day when it was, I was so excited.
So you just, that's like a dream. You know, I also used to do the same, like write to the editor, but it's almost like a dream, like your article never gets published at some point, you
Trust
give
me,
up.
I started writing when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
So imagine it took 2 years for the letter to finally
2
be
years?
published. Yeah, because it was published when I was, continually. And it's something because I was really passionate about. It was sad and disappointing when every Sunday when I look and there's nothing. But when it actually happened, I was like, this was all worth it. And also the journey to get there, reading about different topics at such a young age, for me was enlightening.
Wow. You must have been one of the luckiest 9-year-olds back then. But now you got into media having studied something different.
Yeah.
And it might be different for those who study media and get into journalism. And a lot of people in the newsroom have studied something different from what they do in the newsroom. How easy or hard was it for you to transition into now professional storytelling? Now you have to consider, because you can't just spew out things, you can't just write rumors, and you have to confirm stories, you have to go and find sources. How hard or easy was it for you to adjust?
It was actually pretty easy because for me it was a natural transition. So when I was pursuing my law degree, I was, since first year, I was still contributing for Daily Nation, a column called Campo Vibe that I used to sign off as Bunny. And it was just talking about the different things that happen in universities. Say there was a beauty pageant in a particular university, I'd cover that. So it's something that I'd already started doing. I'd started focusing also on children's stories, a lot of advocacy work in my writing. So it was really a natural transition into media, because when I finished my law degree, I faced two choices. One is to continue with whatever I was already doing. And back then I was writing for True Love magazine, Drum, the East Africa Limited franchise, all the magazines that they owned, as well as I still used to contribute for Daily Nation. Or go into as an intern into one of the law firms. And for me, it was just about natural transition. So it wasn't very difficult. Maybe the transition was from print to broadcast. And even that story was really funny because I'd written so much, and my portfolio for the articles I'd written was like a booklet this thick at
Wow.
only 19.
Well, at 19,
Yes.
because I'm wondering, where did you get time to go to class and have compiled stories, go out there and cover stories? Because, in university, a lot of people, when they get in, they're not able to, kind of have a hands-on experience on what they want to do. How are you able to?
Because it was very clear for me from a very young age that I was really passionate about writing. And there are people who are willing to publish whatever it was I wrote. So for me, it was great. So when I went to one of the local stations that had just set up, K24, and the station manager was somebody from the US, and who I'd actually been called in for an interview about how young people can start writing more and more and be interested in literature. And, the way I spoke, he called me to his office after the interview and said, I think you would be great for TV. And then I was, I think, in second, third year doing my law degree, but TV had never really been my thing. And he was actually pitching it to me, telling me, oh, writing is just a byline. TV, you'll be branding yourself in your entirety. And I thought I have nothing to lose, so I went for it.
So, did they just offer you a job?
No,
Was
no,
it
no, of
that
course,
easy to be
no.
offered a job? It seems like it just came
No,
like, oh yeah,
I
that
think
guy.
they saw the potential. Then they invited me for a screen test. Of course, I had to go through the whole screen test, etc. I went for the screen test. 2 weeks later, they called me. They said, we think you're great. If you've never done TV and you are really articulate, you're a natural. So they gave me a show to do called Taliu Enjoy. I loved it because it was a travel show where we'd go to different places, sights and sounds of Kenya. And yeah, I did. It was unscripted, and they let me choose my co-host. So it was really great. I really enjoyed the show.
Wow. So, and at this time you were still in
I was
school?
still in school.
Where did you find the time to complete a law degree?
Wow. I think it's a lot of, I get that question so many times, like, how do you have time to do all these things? And I think for me, it's planning and prioritizing. I think as young people, we forget we have so much time. We have a lot of time. And for me, just even wasting 10 minutes doing nothing is like unheard of.
Wow.
I'm very intentional about how I use and spend my time. So it's just about planning and prioritizing, and you can be able to do it. And if you're passionate about it, nobody's forcing you to do it. You'll just do it.
And then from there, from K24, your career just progressed from there. Did you
Well,
struggle
I
looking
was
for
still at
jobs?
K24. I still did not stop writing.
Oh, you still went on
Yes,
with
I
writing
still
for the
was
Daily
right
Nation?
for the Daily Nation and for the East Africa magazines. Your True Love, Drum, Twende, Move. So I still continued writing until at some point I felt, I don't think I'm getting enough rewards on TV. Like there's a lot of input. You wake up early, you go for a shoot, there's a certain way you have to be. And I think because the station was just starting out, so you had to have your own wardrobe. Remember, I was quite young, yeah? You had
Were
to
they
have...
paying you enough?
No, I don't think there's anybody who would say they were. Well, I don't think
Would you
that
be
was
okay?
enough.
How much were they paying you? I'm curious.
Back then, when we were starting at K24, I don't think we had wardrobe allowance. So you had to figure it out by yourself. So I felt that all the money I was getting paid there was actually, I was spending it on,
How much were they paying you?
it was little.
Little could be
It's
100,000 could be
relative, I
little.
know, but it wasn't that much, to be honest. Yeah, and given I was quite young.
Yeah.
Back then, maybe it seemed a lot. If I told people, they'd say, oh, what do you mean? But then looking at the things that you have to do, for me, wasn't making sense. So I just resigned and joined East Africa magazines under the franchise of Move permanently. And then shortly, I think a year later, NTV was rebranding, and somebody said, the station is rebranding. I think you would be great for it. Is it something you'd want to consider? Then again, I went through the entire process of the screen test, etc. And yeah, I got the job.
And you got to host news with Mark Mathai.
Yes, Mark, Larry. I think we first started off with Larry Mador with a show called PM Live. I first started with business news before getting into prime time.
Oh yeah, I remember PM Live. It was the
PM
business
Live
show, and you used to interview different people on
Yeah,
on that
broadcast
show.
is really interesting because I remember we used to do it at KICC, and this week was my week to host. And there were fire trucks at KICC. The president was launching something, but nobody knew what it was. So I'm on air and I'm being told, speak about what is happening. And I'm like, my goodness, I have no clue what's happening. But I think the previous week there had been a fire, and I peeped through and I saw fire trucks. So I just said, there's, fire trucks are being launched today. And I was really hoping that's what's happening. So you have to be really, read a lot,
to
be
able
aware
to
of the
think on
current
your
news,
feet.
think on your feet,
Yeah.
be very flexible, try to transition, be smart about it. But trust me, I had no clue.
So you just blabbered about what was happening, and I've seen some of these moments. They make television what it is, but now you left all of that,
Yeah.
all of the the fame and media, and the lights, and it's quite glamorous from where people are.
Was it really though?
It-
I
it
don't
is.
know. It's the perception.
Did you
I
you
think
never
it's
found it glamorous?
No, I didn't. I think it's the perception. It's when people see the long hair, the makeup. Actually, just for clarification, people put on makeup for TV to help the light bounce off properly on you. It's not about, yes, beauty maybe is primary to enhance, but then that's secondary. The primary reason is to help the light bounce off properly. And, for me, the lights were killing me because I was having persistent migraines. I actually enjoyed going to the field, and that's why I launched my show, Women in Power, because I loved being in the field, meeting people, telling those impactful, positive stories, trying to interact and engage with people who are making a difference in the community, as opposed to just sitting and reading the news. I know this will sound so bad, but this is my experience. And at some point, I felt like all I did was relay news. Like, this is what happened. It's like I'm just telling a story, and I wanted to be part of that story.
So do you think there's a difference between news anchors and reporters? Like, it doesn't feel as impactful when you're just relaying what was happening?
Yeah, for me, in my perspective, no, it didn't. I felt, and I love what the Kenyan stations have done. Nowadays, you're not just a news reader. You have to go to the field, because then you're able to resonate. You're able to see what happens in the field. You're able to be in the action. There's no action that happens in the newsroom. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your transition. Immediately after you left NTV, you went to government.
Yes.
It's called the Competition Authority.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's one of the most famous government organizations or government entities out there. So coming from a place of work where you were used to be seen and you were used to, there's that satisfaction that you get from, after a bulletin or maybe airing a story, seeing your story air and people talk about it, and then you move to a job where your impact isn't instantly measured. How was that transition for you?
Oh, it was an amazing transition, because I felt that I had reached my pinnacle in the newsroom. I was doing primetime news. I had a show that was sponsored. Everything was going great, but I wanted more. Yeah. And so when I joined government, I really wanted to understand, how does the public sector run? I wanted to understand it so much so that I did a master's in public policy and management, just to understand the science of public sector.
Did you do the master's while you were at the new job, or did you?
I signed up when I was in the new job, before I got my other job.
Well, you've had quite a number of jobs.
Yes. And it was fascinating to see how it runs. So from a journalist's point of view, I wanted to understand, as the fourth estate, the people that we consistently hold accountable, what are we holding them accountable for? So it was really interesting to work there, the Competition Authority, and I felt that I was also applying my legal degree, because we were looking at issues to do with mergers and acquisitions, enforcement of the law, consumer protection. So it was not that new because of my law degree. So for me, it was a perfect transition.
Well, and from there, you went to IBM. It's a tech company, from government to tech.
Actually, I went first to a USAID-funded program.
Oh, yeah. Before that. And
yes.
How did that happen? And how come? I feel like, do you feel lucky to get these things?
Oh my gosh, I hate that word, lucky.
Or did you really work for it? Because
what do you mean, did I really work for it? Of course I worked for it. I feel like saying lucky lessons, the hours people put in, all the stuff we put on social media is curated content. It's this picture, the way you take like 50 pictures before you post one. It's really curated. Nobody takes a picture in the dead of the night at 2 a.m. when they're struggling to meet deadlines, when they're struggling to accomplish different things. You're just putting out things that you feel the audience will like. So it's a lot of curated content. I feel when we use the word luck, we really diminish the hard work that goes into a lot of the things people do. So, at the competition authority where I set up the comms department and external affairs department from scratch, that was beautiful. My transition to the international development sector came about when I got my fellowship to the Young African Leadership initiative that was launched by President Barack Obama.
President Barack Obama.
Yes.
Did you ever get to meet
Yes,
him?
I got to meet him
Wow.
in Washington. Yeah, he's amazing. And, you know, for me, I felt, you know, going into the international development sector is like a 360. So it was, wow, I've done privates, I've done the media, I've done the private public sector. Now I'm getting into the international development sector. And, you know, I just signed my contract with them when I was leaving for the US, because I was going there for about 5 months. And then I came back and started my new job. Yeah.
So this is one of the questions I've always wanted to ask you. You've managed to do so much at quite a young age, and we'll come to your book, by the way. All of these things, and I know you've said there's planning behind it, but a lot of young people are unable to accomplish the goals that they set for themselves because they find maybe challenges with finances, like you're not able to finance your education, you're not able to go for that master's. Some are not even able to complete their undergrad because of financial constraints. What would you tell the person who really wants to, you know, advance their education, go for that master's, go for that undergrad, go for that diploma, but then maybe they do not have the resources? Maybe from your experience of how you were able to fund your education, because you also went to Strathmore, right?
Yeah, I did, and it was really expensive, and I had to pay it from my pocket. I think what I would tell them is just stay resilient. Look for jobs that you can either do when it's during holidays or part-time, or if you're a writer, you can contribute. You don't need an office to do that. Look for things that you can do on a part-time basis. And just since you mentioned my master's, I paid, trust me, there's so many emails that are in my inbox where I would literally beg the accounts office, please let me just sit for this exam. I promise that immediately I get paid, I will pay this amount, because you know there was a threshold for you to sit for certain exams, for your end of year exams. So it wasn't.
And this is the side that people don't see, because
this
people
is the
just
side
see
people
pictures
don't
of
see.
people graduating on social media, and they do not understand how expensive education is.
It is an intentional investment, and it is the best investment anybody can ever make, because nobody will take that away from you. You can buy a car, you can buy a house, you can buy whatever, all these material things, but nobody's gonna get into your brain and remove the education that you got. So for me, education is the best gift I could ever give myself and give my children. And it wasn't, you know, I think everybody struggles to pay school fees. It's just about being committed to the end goal, because every month, whatever amount of extra money I have, whatever MC gigs that I get to do, by the way, I would actually say, just write the check to Strathmore. But let that money go straight to them.
You do a gig, and then afterwards you just
exactly,
exactly,
because I really wanted to ensure that I complete it. And I wasn't back then working at a place where they paid school fees for you. So if you're in an organization where there's that facility, please take advantage of that. Because I know there's some.
Did your parents help you maybe fund for some of the education?
No, I didn't want to burden them. They paid for my undergrad, but this is something I had mentioned to them, that just till undergrad, that's fine. The master's, everything, I'll do that myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you're a comms expert, and in such high places. You work for IBM and now at AMREF, working in different countries, controlling their comms teams in different countries. First of all, let's start by addressing the responsibility that comes with a senior corporate management position.
Yeah.
How are you able to manage people? You know,
Yeah. So currently, I'm the Global Communication Director at Amref Health Africa.
Yes.
Amref Health Africa, for those who may not know, is the largest health development organization, headquartered here in Nairobi. We have operations in 35 African countries. We have 11 Europe and North America fundraising offices, 11 countries in the Europe and North America that act as fundraising offices. And we also have 3 subsidiaries which support the NGO, Amref Flying Doctors, which I'm sure people know about,
Yeah.
Amref Enterprises that deals with our health innovations, and Amref International University, where I actually teach a course in health journalism.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge portfolio, but I have such an amazing team. I always call it the small but mighty team. But it's always about teamwork. I even at my network, I started a network about a year ago called the Ntonjira
Yeah, the
Network.
Ntonjira Network.
Yes, it's all about teamwork. Like, I don't feel I would be able to accomplish all these things if it wasn't the diligence and discipline each team member has within the different scopes that I've held. Yeah.
Wow, that's such a great position and such a great responsibility to have. But then I want to talk about a bit of your personal life, because you just turned 33.
You had to go there.
Yeah, I have to go there. Of course, we are in digital, and people, everybody wants to know. Ntonjira, a lot of people would want to know about your personal life. I mean, you've been in the media, you know this. A lot of people want to know, what's happening in their personal life. I feel like people want to know this information because they want to feel like they're not alone in this. So let's start by how you met your husband. Where did you find time for a relationship?
I know.
And even marriage, planning a wedding?
I know. Can you?
I mean, it's all you were doing.
I know, it's crazy. Can you believe I met him when I was working at IBM, which was a really intense job, overseeing Central, East, and West Africa. I was pursuing my 2 masters during that same time.
Yeah.
And so it was so interesting how I met him. And he's an amazing human being. He is really amazing. He's supportive. I think what made our dating work was that he made time, because he would often tell me, today don't even, go to school, because we had to meet after class, which was my class. So work was during the day. By 5:30, I had to be in class till 8:30. Saturdays, for my other master's degree, I had to do class on Saturday. So it was we're working with very limited timings.
So you only probably had Sunday too.
No, we'd meet after class and, have dinner quite late, which is not healthy, but there's nothing we could do.
Well, that was before COVID, of course.
Yeah. That was before. That was in like 2016. Yeah, he's an amazing human being. So he proposed, then yeah.
Wow.
The rest is history.
And your wedding, did you entirely pay for the wedding, or did he entirely pay for the wedding, or did you guys?
We did half and half. Like, one of the things that we said to ourselves is we did not want to have any committee, we just wanted to do it by ourselves. And that's how we did it. So we did sort of like a divide and conquer kind of approach. And that's the approach we used. But he paid for the honeymoon.
Oh, he did?
Because it was a surprise. It was a surprise. But yeah, it was amazing.
Wow. And let's talk about Ntonjira Network. This is something that you have started. Brian and I were going through your website, and we saw you have quite a number of projects that you're doing with young people. And this is probably one of the reasons why you're one of the top 100 most influential Kenyans. What have you been able to accomplish through the Ntonjira Network?
Wow. The Ntonjira Network is a platform for coaching, training, and mentoring the young people. And through that, we've been able to, currently our membership is over 2,500 young people. We have been able, through the Friends of the Network, to award 15 scholarships. We've also been able to hold sessions that have directly impacted over 700 young people across the country. We also do some CSR activities that really are around sexual reproductive health. How can we tackle the issue of teenage pregnancies in Kenya? So the network has been it has grown in leaps and bounds. I even to my astonishment, because there is really a need for young people to be mentored.
Yeah.
The platform, the mentorship platform that we have, it's in 3 different tranches. So there's one that is led by the network, where we see different people, industry thought leaders, matching them with different people within the same industries. Then there's one that we do for campus, particularly those people in their final year, where we have a curriculum for preparedness to the workplace or to entrepreneurship. How do they handle themselves within the job market, whether it's being employed or in entrepreneurship. And then there's a third tranche, which we go to different high schools and have this kind of career compass. One of the things we noticed is when we do a lot of surveys with our network, so that also the programs that we do and initiatives we undertake are informed. It's something that people need. And we realized that a lot of young people, when they were in high school, nobody really informed them. Like if I wanted to be good in sciences, I can't drop biology, for instance. So that's what the career compass does. It really just sits down with different young people in high schools and asks them, what are you passionate about? Where do you see yourself? And depending on, like somebody says, I want to be a pilot. We bring in a pilot, and these are the subjects sort of like you have to be really good at, or if you're not good at, really enhance them and put in more effort towards those, so that also they have a plan when they grow up. So we realize a lot of people have regrets because they say, I wish I had this information. And you know the saying, information is power.
Yeah,
it really
it
comes
is
to
power.
play here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how we run the network.
Wow, that's such an amazing initiative you have. And let's talk about your book. This I have to say, this is your copy because I have a copy from our home library,
Yeah.
which I came with, but I left it in the cab. I know my
I don't
director
think
hasn't
it's
noticed.
coming back if you left it in the cab.
I have been calling the driver the whole day to bring me the book. But once we saw this book, we were very excited. By the way, and I remember my wife was like, "Hey, we have to buy this book. We really have to buy it," and she has to autograph it for us. Youth Can is a collection of powerful, inspiring, and challenging stories from youths breaking barriers across Africa. Where did this idea come from?
This idea was born from the fact that when the network was hitting 1 year, like I really wanted it to be something like we're celebrating young people. And through this, I married my, passion for youth advocacy and my passion for storytelling, and it gave birth to this wonderful book, #YouthCan. And I really wanted, because sometimes we can be very inward looking as young people. If you are in Nairobi, you only relate with people in Nairobi. And if it's Nairobi, it's in a particular area. Like if you're from Westlands, if you're from Uhuru, if you're from Jammu, I wanted people to engage, not to put barriers. That's why we have people featured from 22 different African countries, Anglophone, Lusophone, Francophone, because I wanted somebody from Kilifi reading the story can resonate with somebody from Lesotho, can resonate with somebody from South Africa, from Sierra Leone, from Ghana, from Nigeria. I wanted people to see that the challenges a young person is going through, for instance, in Guinea-Conakry, is the same challenges that somebody in Liberia is going through, but how is the person in Liberia overcoming those challenges? What can I use or take from their experience and apply in my livelihood that will help me? Yeah.
And I've gone through a few stories in the book, and I've seen the young people between the age of, I think the youngest was was it
Nine
nine
years
years
old,
old,
yes.
and the eldest being 60. So
Yes.
you have such a diverse number of people in here that you've featured their stories. How did you get to meet all of these people? Are these people you know personally and went to them, or how did you create this network?
I'm so happy you asked that question, because I wanted this book to be evidence of how you can really leverage on social media, the new media that we have.
Yes.
There's something plaguing our young people, and that's just trolling. You know, the keyboard warriors,
Yes.
the misery that is behind the keyboards. I wanted people to see that you can actually use social media and have something good. 85% of all the people featured, I do not know them. I reached out to them via Twitter,
Wow.
Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook.
That must have been a lot of work. Did you just go filter out countries and just randomly select them, or?
No, I did my research. Like, I did a lot of research on, say, if it's, so the book is divided into 12 chapters,
Yeah.
each chapter focusing on different sectors of the economy. So there's education, there's public sector, there's technology and innovation, there's research and development, there's agriculture, which is feeding for the future in the book,
Yeah.
there's climate change, everything, all the 12 key things that I was looking at. And then trying to see who are the industry experts within those areas. For instance, South Africa, which is the sports sector, I had to look at, somebody beyond Kenya, because I know we have very wonderful sportsmen and women here.
Yes.
But, it's people who really have stories of resilience, people who were never born with a silver spoon in their mouths, people who really had to work hard to get to where they are. And so it starts with an industry thought leader, then a feature of 3 to 4 young people who are doing exemplary well. So they're young people featured who have PhDs, and there are other young people who've been featured who haven't finished their education because of certain circumstances, but that notwithstanding, they're still doing their best to realize their fullest potential.
Amazing, amazing. So this book is available. I've seen a picture on your Twitter. I think it's a very beautiful picture. What bookshop was that?
It's a bestseller at Textbook Center. It's available at Textbook Center, but it's also available on www.youthcan.africa. We deliver countrywide and ship worldwide.
They delivered this book to our house, by the way. So it's available out there. So go grab it and read it. Some of these stories are amazing stories from around Africa. I saw a story here from one of the Portuguese-speaking African countries.
Yes, exactly. I think the book is really, to be honest, it's a learning tool. It's something for posterity. It's something that you can reference 50 years from now.
Yes.
And there's power in testimony. And that's why people really like testimonies, because they're always like, if this person made it, maybe I can apply some of the unique things they did to make it myself.
Wow, great. So thank you so much, Liz Ntonjira, for coming through.
This was really so much fun.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
So from the top 100 list from Kenyans.co.ke, Liz Ntonjira, one of the most influential Kenyans of the year 2020 in our yearly top 100 list. We'll see you again on the next top 100 next year. Goodbye.